I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive. I thought we played with energy in the first 5 minutes. And then, when they kind of went on their first run, it kind of deflated us a little bit, which I'm not really sure why. But the offense, I think, for us, like, it starts on defense. And we, struggled, scouting report wise. We struggled personnel. We struggled to do what the coaches asked of us. And then, overall, like, we just played with more energy and effort, and, those are the things that just can't happen.
What do you do when your coach throws the entire team under the bus after a crushing loss? That's exactly what Stephanie White did following the Fever's 82-61 blowout defeat at the hands of the Valkyries. And this wasn't just any loss, it was their second time being dismantled by an expansion team this season. To make matters worse, it came during Caitlin Clark's highly anticipated return from injury. Just days earlier, the Fever had dominated A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces, as well as Napheesa Kalia and the Minnesota Lynx. But in front of a sold-out Gainbridge Fieldhouse crowd, the team collapsed and Coach White made decisions that left analysts baffled. Then, in the post-game press conference, White pointed fingers at everyone but herself. Now fans are left asking, is this the kind of leadership the Fever needs? Let us know in the comments, though. You think Coach Stephanie White is to blame?
I have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever, but it's something about it, man, because although, yeah, I get it, she was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right, she also need to take a little bit of accountability on her own.
Picture this. Just last week, the Fever were on top of the world, proudly holding up their first Commissioner's Cup trophy. The team had found its rhythm and its identity. They completely dominated A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces, making one of the league's top players look ordinary. Then, they outplayed Napheesa Kalia and the Minnesota Lynx, proving they could go toe-to-toe with anyone. The future looked bright. The chemistry was clicking. Everything was falling into place.
And, you've had career high school, college, pros, you never were really injured before and had to sit out. Now it's been twice. How do you mentally go through that part besides the physical rehab while you're sitting out? How do you cope with it at home and killing time?
It's honestly been hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult, going to prepare for games, but knowing you're not going to be playing in them, and I think just reminding myself of, my abilities and what I've been able to do in this league, even though I've been sitting out, and, just trying to be a great teammate, be a great leader, even though I've been on the bench, and serve my teammates in that way.
And then came July 9th. Caitlin Clark's return from a groin injury was supposed to be a celebration. She had missed 5 games including the Commissioner's Cup Championship, which the team won without her. The anticipation was sky high. Fans were eager to see what this squad could accomplish with their superstar back on the floor. A sold-out Gainbridge Fieldhouse buzzed with excitement. The crowd expected fireworks. The energy was electric before
I think it's given me great perspective on what other people have gone through their career, and like you said, I've been fortunate enough to never really been injured, and I play a lot of minutes usually, so I think it gives me good perspective, not only for people that are injured, but some of your teammates that may not be getting the minutes that they want to get, and I think I can use that experience to be a better leader, to be a better teammate, but also it's like challenging me mentally. I think, it's really hard to stop and go, and especially when you're not feeling your best. So just trying to get my body as healthy as I can be and remain confident in myself, and then do everything I can once I step back out on the court.
Instead, fans watched their team get demolished 82-61 by an expansion team that wasn't even expected to be competitive yet. The Golden State Valkyries looked like seasoned veterans, while the Fever appeared lost and disoriented. It was the second time this season the Valkyries had beaten the Fever, but this one stung differently. This was supposed to be their moment, their homecoming, their statement game. Clark's return was expected to ignite the offense, but the team shot just 31% from the field and made only 6 of 27 three-point attempts. The once fluid offense that powered their championship run now looked broken. Ball movement was sluggish. Shots wouldn't fall, and the timing was off everywhere you looked.
Bentley lays that one in. Look at the attack. How quickly up the floor. And Clark hits a 3. The Fever have hit.
The team scored just 19 points combined in the second and fourth quarters. 19 points across 2 full quarters of basketball. In the second half alone, the Fever gave up 10 offensive rebounds, allowing the Valkyries multiple second and third chances with ease. Every possession felt like a struggle. Every defensive stop seemed out of reach. The energy in the arena shifted from electric anticipation to stunned silence. Disappointment rippled through the crowd. Fans who had come to celebrate were instead watching their team unravel. After the game, Clark acknowledged the team's struggles, saying, "I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive. I thought we played with energy in the first 5 minutes, and then, when they kind of went down their first run, it kind of deflated us a little bit, which I'm not really sure why.
It's every single person on our team, and nobody played well today, and you should look yourself in the mirror and find ways where you can get better, and come back to practice tomorrow and then play again on Friday.
This wasn't just a bad game, it was a complete system failure that exposed deeper issues within the team. The same squad that rode a solid winning streak just last week now looked like they had forgotten how to play basketball. But the real shock came after the final buzzer, when the blame game began.
I think collectively we didn't do a good job at taking away the stuff that their team likes to do and making them do things they don't want to do. We didn't do a good job of that. We also gave up some timely offensive rebounds that they do a great job of kicking it out, getting open looks, getting open threes late in the game. I think it really just comes down to effort and us not locking in mentally and following the scouting report.
Here's where things got really frustrating. Head coach Stephanie White made decisions that left fans and analysts alike scratching their heads. She benched Lexi Hull, one of the team's most consistent defenders and most reliable threat. Hull had started most of the season and was the perfect complement to Clark's style of play. She spaced the floor, played lockdown defense, and brought balance to the lineup. But White tossed all of that aside.
We have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, I get it, she was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right, she also needed to take a little bit of accountability on her own.
Instead, White started Ari McDonald at point guard, the spark plug of the team, while Clark was out. This move forced Clark to play off the ball at small forward, rather than in her natural position. How do you not let a generational talent play where she excels most? Clark is a point guard. That's where she creates magic. That's where she controls the game. And White took that away from her.
What did you like about Caitlin and Ari starting the game together and Lexi coming off the bench?
I like the ability to have two primary ball handlers on the floor, particularly with a team that comes aggressively, in the two-man game. Being able to play off of one another, being able to give the opponent some different looks, and quite frankly, for C specifically, not having to have her play under duress 94 feet the entire time she's on the floor. So there were some things that we liked about it. There were some things that we don't. So we'll continue to work with that.
The offense became stagnant almost immediately. Clark struggled to find her rhythm, and the entire system looked clunky and disjointed. She needed the ball in her hands to create for others, but Coach Stephanie White had her running off screens and playing away from her strengths. The two styles didn't mesh at all. One analyst even remarked that it looked like the team hadn't practiced with this starting lineup at all.
Look, she can give her different looks. It could turn into something beautiful. I'm excited to see both of them on the floor together because they can create shots for one another. But it didn't happen today. So you should have made the adjustments once the offense looked so stagnant, looked so lost, discoordinated. You should have went ahead and changed that. All right? You should have changed that.
Hull had been a crucial part of the team's success. Her floor spacing created driving lanes for Clark, and her three-point shooting kept defenses honest. Defensively, she was solid and dependable. But all of that vanished the moment White sent her to the bench. With one decision, the team lost its identity. The Valkyries seized on every mistake, while the Fever's new lineup struggled to find any chemistry. Ball movements stalled. The offense became predictable. Players resorted to taking tough, contested shots instead of generating open looks. Everything that had made them successful during their championship run had completely unraveled.
So what happened? The Fever? Slow it down! They get into the beautiful motion offense we've all been in love with since the start of the season. Oh, pass, screen away. Oh, what a thing of beauty. Pass, screen away. Oh my goodness. Did you see how Kelsey Mitchell just set that screen? Mwah! Magnificent. And the Valkyrie, Natalie Nakase, and the crew, they said, oh, now's our time to strike. So over the remainder of the first quarter, the whole entire second quarter, after being up 20-11 with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go, the Golden State Valkyrie proceed to go on a 30-12 run for the next 13 minutes.
Even worse, White's rotations limited Clark's minutes at the exact moment the team needed her most. It was her first game back from injury, the offense was sputtering, and the crowd was growing restless. Clark's presence on the floor was essential to ignite any kind of spark, but White kept her on a minutes restriction. Every time Clark went to the bench, the momentum vanished. The absence of ball movement was especially damaging. The team struggled to create easy scoring opportunities, instead settling for contested shots rather than finding open looks for reliable shooters like Hull and Mitchell. The offense that had flowed so smoothly just weeks ago now looked broken beyond recognition.
I would say we can do better than the motion offense when Caitlin Clark's on the bench. We can utilize Kelsey. We can utilize AB. We can utilize Aerie. We can do things. But no. No. Caitlin Clark was a decoy for many parts of this game. Majority of this game, dare I say. She didn't seem like a threat, other than when the ball was in her hands, which Stephanie White literally has a heart attack. He says, "No, Caitlin, no! Too many assists, stop! Too much facilitating, cut it out!"
These weren't minor tweaks, they were fundamental changes that shattered the team's identity. White altered the starting lineup, moved Clark out of position, and benched one of their most dependable players. The outcome said it all. A 9th loss to an expansion team, but what came after the game may have been even more damaging than the tactical missteps. In a post-game press conference that left fans and analysts stunned, Stephanie White stepped to the podium and made comments that raised serious questions about leadership. Looking directly into the cameras, she placed the blame squarely on her players for the humiliating loss.
I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire. With the exception of about 2 5-minute spurts. Our attention to detail was poor. I'm not sure if it's not knowing the game plan as much as, because if it's not knowing the game plan, then that's a whole nother conversation, as much as not executing the game plan.
White said, "I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire." But she didn't stop there. She continued criticizing her team's effort, adding, "Our attention to detail was poor." Those words landed like a slap in the face. Two players who had just poured everything they had onto the court. In a moment when accountability and unity were needed, White chose blaming. It cut deep.
Our attention to detail, undisciplined. I felt like our energy and our competitive fire was not there, and that's disappointing.
I guess, why do you think you had some of these inconsistencies when it comes to focus and engagement, things like that?
I'd say discipline more so than focus. I think this is a group that focuses, but you can focus and then you have to be able to go out and be disciplined enough to execute it, right? I'm not sure. We're as coaches, that's our job to figure it out. Why it is. You've seen it in spurts, you've seen it in moments, you've seen it with certain lineups. So finding those lineups that we've seen it with consistently, and maybe keeping those together.
But here's the problem. She took zero accountability for her own strategic failures. There was no mention of benching Hull, no explanation for the McDonald experiment, which clearly didn't work. White spoke as if her coaching decisions had nothing to do with the loss. Instead, she pointed fingers at everyone but herself.
It doesn't take much. There's other ways. But to give up your defensive presence just to mitigate that? Come on, man. To give up your defensive presence, Lexi Hull, somebody who hustles to get rebounds, right? Hustles to get the rebounds. She had like 7 to 8 rebounds. 7 to 8 rebounds, man. We're going to look at the stats. But she was hustling.
Meanwhile, Clark took full responsibility in her post-game interview. She openly acknowledged the team's offensive struggles, saying, "I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive, but the offense, I think for us, it starts on defense, and we struggled, Scouting report-wise, we struggled with personnel. We struggled to do what the coaches asked of us." She didn't deflect. She owned the team's shortcomings and looked inward. The contrast was stark. The star player showing maturity and accountability, while the head coach pointed fingers. Clark didn't blame anyone else. She searched for solutions, not excuses.
Our team, we have a lot of inconsistency. We raise to the occasion when we're playing for 30,000, and then we need to bring that level of focus and that level of energy every single day. It's really hard to win in this league, and I think we need to focus every game because all of these games matter when September, October comes. So it's really just going to come to us, and we really need to regroup, turn the page, learn from this, and come with a better mindset on Friday.
One analyst pointed out that White's comments about ball movement directly contradict Clark's natural style of play. Clearly, her philosophy on basketball does not suit Caitlin Clark. The analyst said, raising serious questions about whether these two can successfully coexist. What this exposed was a deeper philosophical clash. White's rigid, system-driven approach versus Clark's instinctive, creative game. White wants to control every possession. Clark thrives on the floor, making split-second decisions and improvising. These two styles simply don't mesh. Another analyst summed it up bluntly. I think the Fever are getting very close to having to make a choice. Do they want to choose Stephanie White, or do they want to choose Caitlin Clark? And that's the question now echoing across the league. How can this team succeed when the coach refuses to take ownership of her mistakes?
It has come down to this, y'all, and it's plain and simple. Caitlin Clark has to give the Indiana Fever an ultimatum. That's right. I've been disgusted all day about this piss poor, embarrassing performance from the players, and most of all, from this coaching staff. Stephanie White, I'll say it again, you are a pure bum of a coach.
So, here we are. The Fever just suffered one of their most embarrassing losses of the season, and the blame game is in full swing. But this loss did more than stint it, exposed everything wrong with the current system. Poor coaching decisions, a lack of accountability, and a fundamental failure to understand how to utilize a generational talent like Caitlin Clark. This wasn't just a bad night. It was a total collapse of the very identity that had made this team special. The question isn't whether the Fever can bounce back. It's whether they can do it with Stephanie White still calling the shots. Just last week, this team dominated. Aja Wilson and the Aces. They outplayed the Lynx. They won their first Commissioner's Cup. That success came when they leaned into their strengths, not when they ran away from them.
As long as Stephanie White is here, we'll never see the true greatness that Caitlin Clark has within her. We'll never see it. Caitlin Clark has to march up to that front office and say, hey, look, either you guys are going to fix this and we're going to do it my way, or I will not put on this jersey and I will not allow you guys to profit off of me any longer. It's that simple. You want her or you want me? I'm going to pick the coach. I'm going to tell you what players I want on this team. Caitlin Clark has to put her foot down. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I have never seen someone fumble, just flat out fumble a golden goose like this. The WNBA has fumbled her. The Indiana Fever management, coaching staff, everybody has failed Caitlin Clark at every single turn. All of them.
The offense clicked during those wins. Hull provided the perfect complement with her three-point shooting. Boston controlled the paint. Mitchell delivered in key moments. Everything worked because everyone understood and embraced their role. Now, compare that to what we saw against the Valkyries. Confused rotations, players out of position, and a coach unwilling to own her mistakes. Clark was forced to play off the ball at small forward. McDonald was tasked with running point, alongside Clark. When their minutes could have been staggered, Hull, whose shooting and defense had been vital, was left on the bench when the team needed her most. The contrast was jarring. The same players who looked unstoppable during their Commissioner's Cup run suddenly appeared lost and disconnected. The offense that had once flowed with purpose turned stagnant. Ball movement vanished. Chemistry evaporated.
I just feel like starting out this new combo, this new duo, who hasn't really had that much time to get into game reps. Game reps are nothing like practice reps. They are nothing like practice reps. You can go down the line in history and you will hear coaches and players say that it's just not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same pace. It's not the same energy. It's not the same effort. It's not the same. There's nothing like game reps. They had none together, and you started them.
Clark's impact was most evident in the third quarter, when she briefly took control of the offense. In just a few minutes, she scored 3 points, grabbed a rebound, and dished out 4 assists, demonstrating her ability to elevate the team when given the reins. But those moments were far too rare. The talent is undeniable. Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Hull. This group has already proven they can compete with the best when the system plays to their strengths. They've beaten top-tier teams. They've shown flashes of greatness. They have what it takes to be special. But talent alone isn't enough. The system has to work. Coaching decisions have to be smart. Players need to be put in positions where they can thrive. And right now, that's simply not happening. We're approaching the halfway point of the season. This team has the pieces, it's all there. But reaching their potential depends on one thing: making the right decisions about leadership and accountability. The clock is ticking. The talent is waiting. The only question is, will the people in charge finally make the necessary changes?
In fact, we almost look worse like that. And my last warning that I would say to the Indiana Fever brass, this might come as a little bit of a low blow for you guys, But hey, it is what it is. In 2023, the Indiana Fever averaged 4,000 people in attendance for home games. 4,000 people. Do you want to go back to that or no? Just let me know.
Despite this crushing disappointment, there's still reason to believe in the Fever's future. Clark's talent is undeniable. Even in her first game back, she flashed brilliance: 5 quick points, several sharp assists, and a clear ability to impact the game when the ball is in her hands. Aaliyah Boston remains a cornerstone. Her growth in the paint continues to anchor this team on both ends of the floor. And Kelsey Mitchell, with her veteran poise and shot-making ability, brings the offensive spark they desperately need. She creates looks, hits tough shots, and thrives when the system allows her to. The 2025 season still holds promise, but that promise depends on one critical shift. The coach must build a system around her players, not force her players into a system that doesn't fit. So now we want to hear from you. Is Coach Stephanie White to blame for the Fever's struggles? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown. Click the video on your screen now, and we'll see you in the next one.